The next book is actually going to be about challenging the Keynesian epoch after the Second World War. So I'm going to be looking at exactly what happened, not after the First World War, but after the Second World War, because I think there is a lot to be said about the idealization of the golden epoch of capitalism, in which, in fact, it seemed like the system could guarantee a democratic well-being that was, in fact, much more diffused. And I think, in a way, this is important politically because I think there was much more austerity than what it's normally thought about, both in terms of the type of economic theory the experts that were advising governments were bringing out, but also in terms of the policy. So I think I'm going to be looking more closely to the United States. The book, The Capital Order, the United States is an actor in the background, but this second book will be more focused, I think, on the United States to reach the common narrative. But also politically, I find it very problematic that as we face all of these unprecedented challenges to our system right now, from the social catastrophe to the climate catastrophe, that people then tend to revert to, oh, we can just have a New Deal once more, or a new Bretton Woods, or in a sense, the idea that, yes, capitalism has gone astray because we're in this neoliberal period, but ultimately there was a virtuous moment in which the real essence of capitalism can be a good one if only we can reform it in the right direction. And I think this is very problematic because I think especially today, in which all these challenges are new, and we are living the deepest contradictions of our system, we cannot just be, in a way, blinded by the idea that we can just revert to the past, especially when the past is an idealized one. And I really do think that this Keynesian epoch was not as rosy as a lot of progressive want us to think, and that we should really try to think anew for the future to come. So that's going to be the next step, is to try to see what's the relationship between austerity and Keynesianism after the Second World War. Because in my first book, I very well show how Keynes himself was one of the biggest fans of austerity in the early 1920s. Then he reverts to a critique of austerity only once the capital order was fully reestablished. So Keynes himself is not a main actor in my book, but he is present. And he is someone who clearly said that in the hot years, in the revolution years, 1919, 1920, there was no way out but austerity because we needed to preserve the capital order. Then once that was done, once the workers were defeated, then you could envisage potentially some public spending, but certainly not in a moment in which public spending could escalate further demands for social change.
Wow. I cannot wait. We have a bookstore that we prop up the books of the people we interview, and this is definitely going to go in that. We're very interested buying bulk and getting them out there to people, especially when they have an impact. And I believe this book is a must read for every single person that wants to see change. You got to understand where we come from to know where we're going. And this really has opened my eyes quite a bit. This is such a powerful book.
For sure. I would like to end maybe by reading you the last quote of the ending words of chapter 10. I wrote, "Austerity is a political project arising out of the need to preserve capitalist class relations of domination. It is the outcome of collective action to foreclose any alternatives to capitalism. It can thus be subverted through collective counteraction. The study of its logic and purpose is a first step in that direction." So I'm writing this book because I think we really need to understand how our society works in order to actually change it. And this is the first step, is to really stop idealizing what's going on. And this is why history is so important, to really grasp the logic and the dynamic, and thus potentially open our eyes to a different future.